Our last class, when we talk about the financial function นะครับ we start excuse me we start with talking about the series of financial functions that we have to learn นะครับ that are PMT นะครับ N per PV FV and rate นะครับ so these these functions นะครับ I define them as like the first series of functions that they have to just like work together whenever you have to calculate for these kind of values. You also have to know like some other values for or arguments as well นะครับ so for these financial functions we use them whenever we need to calculate นะครับ the things about the loan or investment or savings นะครับ so but before we use these functions there are some of the assumptions that you have to know นะครับ when you ask for a loan or when you invest นะครับ or when you save the money นะครับ with a financial institution if you would like to use these functions, the first one that we have to set as the assumption is that the payment must be constant payment. That means you have to pay equally every time นะครับ if you would like to pay back the money to the financial institution from a loan, you have to pay equally นะครับ every time. If you would like to save the money or if you would like to invest, you always invest in the same amount every time นะครับ okay, that is the first assumption. The second one is that the interest rate must be constant นะครับ so it means that if we say that okay we will receive 2% from the saving or from the investment, that means if you would like to save for 5 years for the whole 5 years นะครับ the interest rate must be 2%. It cannot be changed. Otherwise, you cannot use these functions straight away. You have to just do something in order to manage the fluctuation of the interest rate first. For example, suppose you say that, okay, the first 2 years interest rate is 2%. But from the second year to fifth year, the interest rate is changed to be 1.5%, something like that. Then you have to just split the timeline to be 2 different timelines and use these functions to calculate in different timelines. Okay. So the first function that we learned on Monday was PMT function or payment function. This kind of function is used whenever we would like to know how much do we have to pay นะครับ to the debtor นะครับ or do we have to pay to the financial institution if you would like to invest นะครับ so this function PMT or payment function here needs to use 6 arguments altogether. So I'm sorry, 5 arguments altogether. I have 5 arguments altogether. They are rate, N per, PV, FV, and type นะครับ the argument that is not the function นะครับ that we talked last time was type function type argument. When you have to enter the argument that we call it as type, you have to know that the type argument is the argument to specify that when do you have to pay นะครับ you have 2 possible ways to pay. The first one, you pay at the end of the period นะครับ end of the period. For example, if we say that we would like to pay monthly นะครับ you have to know that okay, will you pay at the end of the month or will you pay at the beginning of the month นะครับ that is the type. But if you pay quarterly, type will specify that whether you would like to pay at the beginning of the quarter or at the end of the quarter นะครับ that is a type. So why do you have to specify the type differently? The reason is because if you would like to pay at the beginning of the period or at the end of the period, the amount of money that you have to pay will be different นะครับ Let's see, if you say that you would like to pay at the end of the month compare with you pay at the beginning of the month, it's 1 month in different, almost 1 month in different นะครับ Let's say if assume that a month has 30 days, you pay on the first of that month and you pay on the 30th of that month นะครับ it's 29 days in different 29 days if you have borrowed let's say 10 million bahts นะครับ and the debtor charge you for 5% นะครับ if the debtor charge you for 5% per year, that means for a month it costs some money as well นะครับ so that's why you have to specify the type นะครับ argument properly. Type 0 means that you pay at the end of the period, for example end of the month, end of the quarter, end of the week, while type 1 means that you pay at the beginning of the month, the beginning of the quarter, or beginning of the week นะครับ respectively นะครับ so that's why you have to specify the type properly นะครับ Another thing that we learned from last class was that the amount of money นะครับ the amount of money can be negative or can be positive, depends on the state of the money นะครับ if you pay out นะครับ from your pocket นะครับ if you pay the money out of your pocket, the symbol to symbolize that amount of money will be negative. But if you receive that amount of money or the money is in your pocket, normally the symbol นะครับ to symbolize the amount of money is positive ones นะครับ for example on last class in PMT functions example number 1 นะครับ, you can see that in here we talk about the loan นะครับ that we have นะครับ we borrow the money for a loan for $50,000. so what will happen? That means for PV or present value, it means the amount of money that you have at that moment of time นะครับ that means on the first day you get the money from the bank 50,000. that's why it's positive 50,000 นะครับ while you say that okay you would like to pay back to the bank every month นะครับ or monthly, you pay at the end of the month, so every time you pay out นะครับ the money is out of your pocket, so that's why you can see that when we calculate the PMT value นะครับ for this case it is negative amount because you pay out the amount of money นะครับ okay, apart from that one, the things that you have to learn นะครับ from all the functions that we studied before, when we talk about the payment นะครับ when you talk about the payment, normally when you get or when you what to say pay the amount of money นะครับ when you pay the amount of money normally นะครับ hang on, let me just open up my iPad first, just one below. Okay, when we talk about the payment that you pay นะครับ the payment that you pay, the things that you have to know is that when you have to pay นะครับ payment always come from two amount of money นะครับ the first amount is principal, the other part of the payment is what we call interest นะครับ when we talk about the payment นะครับ for example in the first example it's $943.56. in here it come from two amount นะครับ so every time that you pay out you always pay $943.56, but the amount of the principal or the amount of the interest in each month will be different นะครับ will be different. so that's why you have to know that when we talk about the constant payment นะครับ or constant amount of money that you pay, we talk about the PMT here นะครับ we don't talk about principal or interest. Let's see the fact of the principal and interest นะครับ when we talk about the principal นะครับ every time that you pay นะครับ the first time that you pay the amount of the principal will be small but when the time goes by the amount of the principal will be more and more compare with the interest นะครับ at the first time when you pay นะครับ you pay interest more but when the time goes by the amount นะครับ of the interest will be decreasing so that's why if you try to just like add these two amounts together นะครับ these two amounts together you get this part นะครับ this is the PMT that you pay นะครับ and every time that you pay it's like this okay this is P this is I นะครับ payment sorry principal and interest but when you sum them up นะครับ when you sum them up they are the same for every month or for every quarter or for every week something like that I'll talk about when we see the functions related to principal and interest and then you will know that what's the difference about the principal and the interest นะครับ okay so after that just a little bit this is just a tips นะครับ that some of you had the problem on last class you found that okay some of you had parentheses นะครับ for the amount of money นะครับ when Excel calculate for you and you don't have like negative symbol what should we do นะครับ the things that happened was that if it is just a parenthesis it is negative as well but that is a display in terms of accounting if you would like to make it to be negative symbol in here like this one you have to just like go to format the cell นะครับ this one I want to let you to recall that okay to format the cell you choose a cell that you would like to format first right click and choose format cell and after that you just like change it to be the symbol that you would like to have นะครับ the symbol that you would like to have นะครับ it will be just like in this list นะครับ for displaying the negative numbers นะครับ for example if I say that I want to show it as Thai baht นะครับ with the symbol here so it is a bit like a lot of currency units that you have to find first นะครับ because it's not sorted anyway นะครับ then you have to find the currency unit that you would like to use นะครับ it can just like show the currency unit that you would like to have นะครับ so in this one and then you just choose whatever you want นะครับ whatever you want for the currency unit that you have apart from that one somebody asked me that when you just like calculate the function the output show you as like hashes if you remember I told you at the very beginning class นะครับ I told you that lots of hashes function come from like two narrow column you just like widen the column นะครับ so that you can just like display the value properly นะครับ okay so that was the things that we learned from last class นะครับ and for the functions that we learned were PMT function, the payment function that returns the amount of money that you have to pay นะครับ for each period of time นะครับ PMT function need to use these arguments rate, N per, PV, FV, and type while rate is the interest rate N per is number of period PV is present value or the amount of money that you have at the beginning of that contractual period while FV is a future value that means for the last period of the contract how much do you still owe the money I mean in case of payment for a loan or how much money do you receive from your investment that is FV นะครับ type as I mentioned earlier it's the payment the time that you pay the money at the beginning or at the end of the period นะครับ so for the tips a little bit that you have to be careful. This one you have to be careful. I don't call it as a tips. It is just like important thing. In this one, the rate, normally when the bank or the financial institution give us for the rate, it's normally be the rate, interest rate per year, the interest rate per year. But when you pay, for saving or when you pay for returning the loan, the rate that you have to calculate must be comply with the period of time that you pay. For example, if you say that, okay, you want to pay monthly, the interest rate that you have to change, or you have to use must be interest rate per month as well, That means if it's still the interest rate per year, your calculation will be wrong. You have to convert it to be the interest rate per month first. Per quarter is as well. If you pay quarterly, the payment you would like to pay quarterly, the interest rate must be interest rate per quarter as well. So this is important that you have to be careful. Okay, after that we talk about the FV function, that is future value function. Future value function is a function that we use in order to calculate that in the future how much money do we still owe, or how much money do we receive from our investment. Okay, right. Okay, these were two functions that we studied from last class. So today we are going to learn for other functions in the first series. The next function that you have to know, that you have to learn, is what we call n-per function. n-per function. For the n-per function, it's a function that we use in order to calculate for number of period. To calculate number of period. Let's see this function first before we start talking about the first example. For the n-per function, when we would like to get the function or use a function, if we forgot the syntax of the function already, you may just like click on the fx button on the left hand side of the formula bar, so that the function builder window will pop up like this, and then you just type the function that you would like to use and then click go. You can see that the n-per function here returns the number of period for an investment based on periodic, constant payment, and a constant interest rate. Okay, so when you use this n-per function, it returns number of period. That means if you use the interest rate per quarter, n-per will return number of quarter for you. If the rate is a rate per month, n-per will return number of month for you. We will see in the example. Okay, for the n-per function, it needs these arguments: rate, PMT, PV, FV, and type. So you have to be careful. The order of arguments in each function are different. Don't shuffle them, because if you shuffle, it will cause the error. Just a little more thing that you have to know is that for the type argument, you can omit it as well. If you remember our last class, I talked about the word omit. Omit means that you skip that argument, you don't enter any value. For example, suppose you say that you have n-per, and then you put rates, n-per, rate, PMT, I'm sorry, PMT, PV, FV. How to omit the type? You just put comma and then close the parenthesis in this case, or you just like finish it at this one you may finish at FV and then close parenthesis. It means you omit the type as well. If you omit the type, it means that you would like Excel to know that the type is 0. If you omit the type is 0. 0 means pay at the end of the period. Why you omit and Excel think that it is 0? Because normally when people would like to pay the money, we pay at the end of the month or end of the period normally, because we would like to extend the time to pay, to be paid, or to pay it as late as you can. For example, if you're talking about paying for some installments, we say that okay, we would like to pay at the end of the month because most of the people are waiting for the salary to come out first. And normally salary come out at the end of the month. That's why we pay at the end of the month as well. So that is just like the normal thing. But it is possible that in some cases, people would like to pay at the beginning of the period. It's possible as well. So that's why they have the type argument if you say that you would like to pay at the beginning of the period. Okay. So in this one, this is the n per function. Let's see the example for n per function. Okay. The first example is here. Let me just send you the example in the chat box. Okay. This is the I'm sorry. Hang on. This is the example number 1. I put them in the chat box already. Okay. Okay. For this one, firstly, I will set up the list of the argument first, so that you can see it clearly. We need to use rate, PMT, PV, FV, and type. Okay, and then we will calculate the number of period here. Okay, so in this one, let's see this example. The first one, we say that okay, we want to find number of months. We would like to find number of months. In here, that means it should be n per. Yeah, so that's why I put the list of argument like this. You would like to pay off a loan. Pay off a loan means that in the future, you have no more debt. In this one, it tells us about the FV. It tells us about the FV that must be 0. You put 0 here. Next, you would like to pay off a loan of 50,000. 50,000 means that you borrow the money 50,000 from a bank or from a financial institution. So that means on the first day, you have this amount of money, 50,000. And when the money is with you, the amount of money must be positive 50,000 because it is with you. Then this is PV, 50,000 in positive. Okay. After that, when you get the PV already, okay, interest rate. Interest rate is 4% per year. 4% per year. Okay, I type 4%, but I just type per year first. Just in case that I have to change it to be monthly payment or quarterly payment, I will have to change the interest rate to be the interest rate per that amount of time. And we say that payment 1,000 per month. Payment 1,000 per month means that, okay, for the 1,000 per month, this is PMT. We pay 1,000 per month. But PMT here, when you pay out, it must be negative. So you pay out for 1,000. And the word per month here make us know that we have to change this interest rate to be interest rate per month first. In order to change the interest rate to be per month, you have to divide the interest rate per year by 12, so that it can be the interest rate per month. Okay, per month. Okay, everyone just have a look on my screen นะครับ for the interest rate here. You see 0%. Actually, it's not zero นะครับ it is 0 point something percent. So somebody just like worried about these values. And you say that, hey, how come that the rate 0% can be calculated properly? If it's 0%, it is just borrow the money, it's not a loan. So this one, if you see 0% like this, or if you see the integer number, especially for the percentage, นะครับ try to set the assumption that it's not true. It must be some decimal points behind this integer. So how do you gonna make 0% to be displayed properly? นะครับ you have to set up the display นะครับ or the format of the cell. The first and proper way, we click on that cell first นะครับ right click, choose format cells, and add or modify number of decimal places นะครับ in this one I may just like put 3 decimal points. Let's see. So this is our interest rate นะครับ per month. It is not zero anymore, as I told you earlier. Apart from that one, if you would like to have the quick format of the interest rate, what should we do นะครับ we click on the cell first, and then you can see that in the home tab you see in the number group นะครับ number group is here. You see this one นะครับ this is to increase or to decrease number of decimal points. This one you would like to increase number of decimal points, you just click, and then you can see that the decimal points will be increasing นะครับ for 3 digits นะครับ for decimal points in here. Or if you would like to decrease number of decimal points, you just click on decrease decimal นะครับ and then it will be decreasing นะครับ Okay, so this one is the way to show the format of the interest rate properly. After that นะครับ we see payment made at the end of each month. So that means type must be 0 นะครับ must be 0 because you pay at the end of the month. So from these values นะครับ from these arguments we can formulate the n per นะครับ function. So in this one I do the same thing. I just go to type n per function, and then I just click OK. Then I enter the rates, PMT, PV, FV, and type. You can see that in here, the intermediate result is showing 54.78. What is the unit of 54.78 ครับ? $54.78 here mean 54.78 month. 54.78 months. So that means if you have to just tell other people นะครับ that okay, you have to pay off a loan in 54.78 months, you may round it up นะครับ and say that okay, you have to pay around 55 months approximately. Because if you just like say that 54.78 นะครับ, in for the normal people, they may not understand what does it mean by 0.78 นะครับ, how long for 0.78, something like that. So normally we have to tell that approximately it should be around 55 months. And why don't we say that it's 54 months? Because in 54 months the debt is not clear off นะครับ you still have some more debts นะครับ for more than half of a month. So if you would like to pay 1,000 per month, more than 50%, sorry, more than half of the month, that means more than $500 that your customer has to pay to you. So that's why we should tell them that okay, we round it up ครับ and tell them that it should be around like 55 months นะครับ okay, this is the first example for n per. So before I let you do in example number 2 นะครับ in example number 1 do any of you have any questions
อาจารย์ครับ my decimal point is different from yours
I'm sorry I couldn't hear you clearly ครับ sorry can you please speak louder ครับ
my decimal point is different from yours
which decimal point ครับ rate or enter
enter ค่ะ
number of decimal points or values
numbers ค่ะ numbers ค่ะ
numbers นะครับ okay so can you share your screen to me
no ค่ะ I use the other device
okay
but it's like 57726 it's not 58 is that okay
yeah that's okay ครับ that's okay the reason is because the reason that makes your result to be different from me a bit is because of the rate we just like divided by 12 something like this and the calculation especially for the rate may cause the answer to be different นะครับ and also because I mean like when you display number of different decimal points นะครับ from another computer it may cause like the calculation to be different as well because it may just like round and display differently นะครับ you can see that in here if I just like change the number of decimal points the value is changed in the answer in here right okay so that's why because normally number of period here okay somebody said that okay just 2 decimal point is enough or the things that I told you before is that when you would like to talk about number of period we normally round it up นะครับ for this one it is 55 months so that means if you get 54.77 or 54.78 or 54.72 let's say you round it as 55 months anyway นะครับ so there is no problem about this ครับ any other question so far for this example
อาจารย์ครับ how can you find the rate again sorry
the rate right
yes
so this one is because the given rate is rate per year right but you pay monthly then you need to change the rate per year to be rate per month we divide by 12 ครับ to get rate per month
okay ครับ thank you ครับ
you're welcome any other questions so far if no more question นะครับ then I'll give you the second example and then I would like you to calculate by yourself นะครับ okay this one I just like give you the question in the chat okay ครับ so this one นะครับ okay I want you to find the number of quarterly payments นะครับ so that means hang on just won't be long ครับ let me just check first yeah that's right okay so this one I would like you to find out the number of the quarterly payment นะครับ that is I mean in here it means that we would like to pay นะครับ hang on we would like to find out number of quarter นะครับ that you pay for $1,000 per quarter นะครับ to reduce a loan from $9,000 to $5,000 interest rate is 6% per year and you pay at the beginning of each quarter okay so this one I'll give you 5 minutes to calculate for the number of quarters ครับ please do it now ครับ so time's up นะครับ in this case นะครับ in this example นะครับ Tanyathorn just like gave us the answer already it's 11.9 quarters or 12 quarters นะครับ so in this one let's see นะครับ for this example you can see that whenever we have to analyze this problem นะครับ let's see In this case, we would like to find number of quarters from the given information. Let me just like copy the list of argument first, okay, in here. When we know that it's the quarterly payments, or number of quarters here, you have to pay 1,200 per quarter. So the PMT is negative 1,200. And in this case, you can see that this question or this example is tricky a bit, because in other example that I told that I gave it to you before, we clear off the debts. But in this one, we just want to reduce only. We reduce from 9,000 to 5,000. If you would like to reduce loan from 9,000 to 5,000, it means that the at the very beginning of the period or PV, you receive 5,000, 9,000. I'm sorry, 9,000. It's in PV. But instead of clear off the debts, in the future, when you finish clearing out of this contract, you still owe the money, 5,000. So this one is FV. We still owe 5,000. And then we say that interest rate is 6% per year. 6% per year. But hang on. We said that payment made at beginning of each quarter, and we would like to find number of quarters. So you have to change the rate to be the interest rate per quarter first. And as I told you earlier on last class, you can see that a year we have 4 quarters. That means if you would like to find out the rate per quarter, you have to divide it by 4, because we have 4 quarters in a year. Okay. Per quarter. And then it might not be 2% sharp. You just like have to check first by increasing decimal. Yeah, it's the rounding value. Actually, it's 1.5% per quarter. 1.5% per quarter. And the type, you pay at the beginning of the quarter, then type is 1. So then you just like formulate the N per equals to N per. Okay. So before I finishing up this N per function in this example, I want you to have a look on the bubble here that they guide you for the argument of the N per. You can see that there are 2 arguments in the bracket that are FV and type. Means that these 2 arguments can be omitted. If you don't enter FV or future value, the assumption is that FV or future value is 0, or you clear off the debts. But if you are not sure, just put comma and then just put the value that you have, or put 0 for the future value that is 0. That is like clear off the debt, something like that. Okay. So in this one, if you don't enter the value, for example, if you just type, in this case, if I just have equals to N per, and then C51, C52, and C53, and then a close parenthesis. This one means that I omit FV and type. The meaning of this N per function means that I clear off the debts at the end of the period, and I pay at the end of each quarter because I omit these 2 values. But from this example, you can see that we can't just omit those values, because you don't clear off the debts, and also you pay at the beginning of the quarter. So that's why you still have to enter C54 and C55 in this case. Okay, I close parenthesis. Then I get 11.90. 11.90. So in this one, you may say that okay, once you answer นะครับ I mean in the exam when you answer you just answer that okay it's 11.90 quarters, you don't need to round it นะครับ leave it like that นะครับ so that means in this one นะครับ in this example we have to spend 11.9 quarters นะครับ to reduce the debts นะครับ to reduce a loan from 9,000 to $5,000 นะครับ okay so this is the n per function นะครับ okay so you get the same answer for this one okay I hope that you get the same answer นะครับ for this okay that's good ครับ okay good to know that okay you get the same answer นะครับ thanks วรรณพงศ์สุภาสินี and Rika for answering นะครับ okay now after we talk about the n per function Jirapat too okay thanks next นะครับ we will talk about the function นะครับ the next function that is PV or present value นะครับ for present value here นะครับ in the example that I told that I would just like show you it will be the another form of saving นะครับ let's talk about the format of the PV function first นะครับ PV or present value function นะครับ okay is a function that help us to return the present value of the investment นะครับ total amount that a series of future payments is worth now นะครับ in this one นะครับ for this kind of function นะครับ it also require 5 arguments as well that are rate, n per, PMT, FV and type นะครับ the first example that I will just like show you is the example about saving นะครับ in terms of the insurance policy นะครับ in terms of insurance for saving in terms of insurance นะครับ normally if you just like do the life insurance นะครับ we call it as annuity นะครับ annuity means that okay when you have to pay for the insurance นะครับ you cannot withdraw the money นะครับ in the middle of the period in the middle of the contract for example if you say that your insurance contract here นะครับ I'll call it as the annuity contract if you would like to save the money in the form of annuity นะครับ and you say that this annuity or this insurance นะครับ contract is around 20 years นะครับ so what does it mean it means that normally you have to pay maybe normally it is like yearly you pay every year นะครับ during these 20 years you cannot withdraw the money but when 20 years passed they will return the money to you นะครับ they will return the money to you with the interest นะครับ they return the money to you with the interest some insurance company นะครับ give you the whole lot of money นะครับ plus the interest at the end of the contractual period in this case let's say 20 years but if you call it as annuity นะครับ at the end of the year 20 they return the money to you นะครับ monthly as well plus the interest นะครับ so that's one it's just like one kind of the insurance policy นะครับ that you may have seen in the future if you just like would like to start having or saving the money in terms of insurance นะครับ okay now let's see the example นะครับ in this one I just give you one example only นะครับ for the PV okay let me just give you in the chat box